Hello and welcome. This is the Temple of Nuit Leo full moon reading. My name is Yvonne Wildheart and I am recording this on the day of the full moon on the 13th of February 2025. I am recording from Central Highlands, Victoria, Djerriwarrh and Wurrung country. So all times that we go through will be Australian Eastern Daylight Savings Time. Before we jump into this wild, epic full moon, I just wanted to share some offerings that are happening at the moment. The biggest one in terms of astrology would be the Temple of Nuit Patreon group. There are 3 tiers, but the last tier, the third tier, the astrological study group, is the most epic, amazing group of people to come together and share our prayers, to get more insight. And that really, it's almost like a circle, so to speak. There's other tiers where you will sign up and you'll get this reading and some other things that'll go there, but the study group is the one where we have more contact with each other, and such a beautiful, amazing community where we just share astro magic together. Another big announcement is that I will be co-teaching with the famous, amazing Irani Lion here on this country, Djerriwarrh country, for the School of Shamanic Womencraft 4 Seasons journey that starts in March. We start on an eclipse during a Venus retrograde, which feels super potent and really powerful, which, as Jane says, whatever starts the start of a cycle sets a tone for the rest of the cycle. So starting on an eclipse, which is the 14th of March, we're going to expect all the things to come up that are hidden, but in this beautiful grand endings and grand beginnings, because that is what eclipse is. And we are actually, this full moon marks the beginning of eclipse season. So if you are feeling rumblings to journey in community with women, to get to know yourself, connect with the earth, connect in community in a profoundly deeper way, come and join us. That's going to be such an incredible year-long journey. There's more about that. Jump on the School of Shamanic Womencraft website. Drum making with the amazing Natasha Colchester and myself running drum makings. We both do private and public drum making offerings, which is incredible, very powerful, looking at your birth story, watching what happens when you're in the shamanic dimensions of creation. It's very, very powerful, especially if you're studying a new career or you're birthing a baby. If you're looking at starting a business, making a drum is a very profound way of sitting with your birth story to see where it's easy, to see where it's more challenging, and to lean into it and work out how you navigate it. More information, more power. Power is knowledge. So that is a profound experience. The shamanic drum making, as you can see, the drums that I've made in the background, there are more, but it's a very powerful weekend to journey with community as well. And also staying on Natasha, we're running a school. We're going to be opening up a school very soon. We're going to start a podcast called the School of Healing and Magical Arts. So stay tuned for that one. And of course, I continue to do my one-on-one readings, both for an astrology, also for space holding and holistic counselling. So if any of those calls for you, if you'd like to come and work with me, there are the avenues. I'd love to work with you. And yes, let's get on to this full moon, this Leo full moon, very, very powerful Leo full moon. I'll bring up the chart. So this full moon is happening has happened already at 12:53 a.m. this morning here on this country. And I'll just try and bring it up full. Okay, full screen. There we go. All right, here we go. Full screen. Leo full moon happening at 24 degrees and 6 minutes. As you can see here, the sun is in Aquarius, which is what we call it's in its furthest away. So it's in its detriment. It's so far away from where it's at home. It rules Leo, but it is reflecting back to the moon. So in terms of the Leo energy, it's really interesting because it feels like it's hidden a bit because it's only been beamed off us where the moon is through a reflection, and it may not be the actual experience. Usually Leo, sun in Leo is playful, it's out there and it's strength and it's courageous and it's that Leo heart. It rules the heart. It's full of love. It wants to be out there shining its light. But in Aquarius, it's the furthest away. It might seem cold and distant, and so that connection with the Leo energy, which is bright and bubbly, might feel a bit removed and a bit to the side or a bit hidden because it is reflecting back off the moon. And the moon, as we know, the moon goes in cycles. It's sometimes there and it's sometimes, away. We can't see it. So this full moon, is full illumination, is shining a light on this Leo area of your chart. But it could be a shadow aspect of that. So pay attention to what's arising with you under this Leo full moon. And the way that we can bring intention around it is to make full moon prayers, to really pull out the good things because they may be hidden. And especially, as I said earlier, this marks the eclipse cycle. The next full moon eclipse in Virgo will be an eclipse. So this is the beginning of the end of something. I feel this lunar cycle, this full moon cycle, and what comes up between now and the next full moon. It's like, what are you letting go of? What needs to be put into sacred compost of the earth, which is Virgo, and moved and transmuted, which is a very Virgo theme, which is where the South Node is, which you can see here. So watch out, watch what happens over the next 4 weeks, and that will give you a clue as to what is leaving into the South Node. The South Node is the past. It's where we've come from. It may represent in past lives. It may represent in past experiences. But with the full moon there, it's like what's bringing full illumination to what needs to be let go of. And this is the beginning of that because it's within that same 4-week cycle. So Leo full moon, here we are, and it's also interesting to remember Leo is a fixed fire sign. It's fixed fire. It needs to be fed. It needs to be, you got to fuel the fixed fire to continue it so it continues to burn its shining light. And so that could be something, a shadow aspect. Is like, where are you not sustaining yourself or looking after yourself so you can show up in this full illumination of the light? Maybe that's a center point for your full moon prayers. What can you do to continue to keep those fires burning, those Leo fires burning? At the same time as this full moon, we have this full moon. It's down here, so you can see the sun is so close to Mercury here. Mercury has just had a gazemi, which means Mercury has gone into the heart of the sun and now is coming out. So Mercury is having a conversation here with the sun after it's had this amalgamation of the full, by the fire of the sun, and coming out with possibly new information. What new information is coming out here that this Mercury is going to bring? In saying this, though, Mercury is going to station retrograde in March, and so it's going to come back over the sun, and maybe be reworked or rewired, or maybe rest in whatever information or whatever's been brought up in this space at the moment. And this is going to continue on for at least until April, until that Mercury stations direct. Interesting enough too, Mercury is the messenger to the underworld. It takes souls from, who died down into the underworld and brings them back into new life. So there's an element here that Mercury's had a bit of an underworld journey. It's coming out after and bringing, the goodness and the information back up. But it's going to have to come back and do this cycle again, and in a really short amount of time because of that retrograde here. At this point in time, probably I'll come back to Mercury, so just hold that for a moment. But one of the biggest things about this full moon is the T square between Uranus here in fixed Earth in Taurus. Uranus is a sign of shakeups and movements and unexpected happenings and surprises, but it's a higher octave of Mercury. It's like that communication in the quantum field. It's sudden, it shifts, and it really feels like whatever you're thinking is, whatever, that quantum physic way, whatever, you have the power to manifest whatever is happening. So, what thoughts are you choosing? What higher thinking are you choosing? And it has the capabilities at the moment with Uranus in Taurus to shake things up. That's Uranus's job, is to shake us up into enlightenment and waking up into higher revolution love and allowing things to fall that are not serving. And these things that need to form might be quite painful. It might be a relationship breakup. It might be you have to leave a job that you have loved for so long, but it's not serving you anymore. We may get called up to make some big life decisions under this full moon, and to even though it can be really big, but leaning into the trust of what you're being called to do from something otherworldly. Uranus also is, it's like that connection out into the galactic wisdom and knowledge coming down. You can see that it looks like, what is it? The satellite dishes. That's a clue, and this is matter down here, and the cross of matter is bringing information down into the earth, which will shake things up. And this is, don't be surprised if there's earthquakes or earth-shattering moments in this full moon. It's quite actually intense, and this T square, this is a 90-degree angle in here. This is when, if you think of a T square, like a T intersection in a road, something comes and it has to stop, and there's a decision that needs to be made. Action needs to be taken to move again, but it comes to an abrupt halt, or there's things that have to come together that cause tension for something to move again. And so this full moon might bring up these big decisions that we have to take to create flow again. But it comes with an element of surprise. It comes with an element of, it just feels awkward and weird, and I don't know, and coming back to leaning into the greater trust that we are held and we are supported by something greater than us. An actual fact that, at some point in our lives that we've made a prayer along the way. For example, if we've made a prayer of abundance and that we've been calling abundance, and all of a sudden we lose our job because it's not serving that abundance, it's like, well, can we lean into the trust there's something else coming? It's a real radical trust moment, especially in Taurus, especially fixed Earth, when things usually feel so solid, but nothing is solid at the moment. Nothing is solid at the moment, especially Uranus and Taurus, and especially towards the end. It's in the last decade of Taurus, which means it's a mastery point. Like, we've been journeying this Uranus and Taurus for a few years now, actually quite some time. And so now it's like this mastery point. It's like, okay, what can't we take with us into the next evolution or next timeline? Like, we need to let things go now. And it feels like it's the pointy end, especially when you've got, a fixed full moon, fixed fire, fixed air, and fixed earth, all sort of coming together to create some kind of tension to make things happen, some action happening. So it's a very, very powerful full moon. But before this, so coming back to this Mercury, before this we had Mercury. So in the lead up to this full moon, not only did we have this Mercury Sun Cazimi, which was on Sunday, we also had this Mercury making an also a 90-degree angle with this Uranus. So there's Mercury. It feels like Mercury has had a conversation with Uranus. So you got the personal lower octave of Mercury of communication, and you got the higher octave or the higher vibrational, the more transpersonal Uranus, and they come together before this full moon. They're like, right, this what needs to happen. It's like Mercury has come out of the underworld, had a chat to the beams of the sun, and has come out and has clear wisdom of what needs to happen next. And it has communicated that to Uranus, and Uranus is like, right. And it's shaking things up from the galactics down and bringing that sort of wisdom, but also chaos, Uranus connected to chaos. And I feel that, with Mercury having just come out of that Sun Cazimi, well, there's Cazimi, the Mercury conjunct the Sun, it's bringing this information to throw it in and say, right, this is new. This is what we need to do next. And off it goes, and Mercury takes it from here straight into this full moon. So that is really epic. We also had Mars over here, which is slowing right down now. It was stationed direct just before the next new moon, which is a Pisces new moon, which will be on the 24th. So next Monday. Week, Monday the 24th, in Cancer at 17 degrees exact. So it's slowing right now. It's already on 17 degrees. Mars has been in retrograde, which started in Leo, interesting enough, at 6 degrees on the 6th of December. So it's had this journey back into Cancer, and it's going to station direct on the 24th of February, right before the next new moon, and right before this this full moon. It also had a conversation here with Saturn, and it will come back and have another conversation with Saturn very, very soon after it stations direct. And this Saturn, this Mars is, Mars in Cancer. It's like it wants to, Mars is all about the action and moving forward and protection, and especially in Cancer, it's all about protection and using its claws and I'll coming at you. Don't you dare take my home. Don't you dare do this to my person. Like that feels like that protective dog that is the home carer, the protector of the home. But it's been, snuffed, and it's been held back, and it really has to sit into rewiring as its role here. Does it need more resources? Does it need to cool its waters a little bit? Like what new information has Mars been giving you in the Leo and now Cancer area of your chart since the 6th of December? Actually, before that, because it would have passed through here throughout October and November. So really, this has been a huge transit for Mars. And just before this full moon too, it had this trine aspect, this aspect which is easy flowing communication, easy flowing ideas. And it feels like Saturn here in Pisces, that is, Saturn is the boundary keeper. It's just interesting, right? When we talk about Mars being in retrograde in Cancer, who wants to protect and keep boundaries, but Saturn is maybe reworking about what actually is the boundaries that Mars needs to maintain. Can it dissolve some of its old concepts, its old ideas as to what boundaries are? And, Saturn is the elder. It's calling for Mars to take maybe more responsibility. Mars, it's like that, it's ruled by Mars, and I mean, it rules Aries and Scorpio. And so it just, Mars is like straight off the bat. It wants to go fast and it wants to do that, almost like that teenage boy who just needs to move perhaps. And it's that shoot first, think later sort of element to Mars. And he's Saturn in the last sign of the zodiac in Pisces. It's the Lord of time, but it's been dissolving by Pisces. Pisces is that mutable water, just dissolving things. And so this communication of Saturn in this element of water, is calling Mars to reconsider what new take on boundaries does it need to consider for that protection, for that nourishment, for that nurturing that Cancer can give. And maybe adding some softness to Cancer, whether, wherever it is in your chart. For example, if you got it in your first house, if you're a Cancer rising, that could mean softer ways of looking at yourself and treating your body, for example, or putting some new boundaries on protection of your body and how you can nourish yourself more deeply, for example. So Saturn's having this conversation as well as this Mercury and Uranus just right before this full moon. So there's a lot of information being shared here. Not only that, you had the North Node going over Neptune here. North Node is the future destiny, the collective future destiny. It's the head of the dragon. Is that right? This reimagining what the etheric world might be like, or new ideas on the spiritual practice in Pisces. But Neptune's here to dissolve, and so what we thought was our future may not be our future destiny anymore, or that it feels again like something's happened and it's changed the trajectory of someone's future. So, for example, you often hear of the talk of war or something like that. But can we, and I think this is a part of that Mercury-Uranus conversation here, is like, well, actually, we can change the greater outcome, and how can we do that? And it comes back to dissolving that concept or that future trajectory and shifting it in a way that is more loving, and really calling up this dissolving of old timelines that no longer serve. Again, Neptune dissolving illusions, breaking illusions. Is that even true? That even is a possibility, or is it something that we're just being fed through the media? So that concept of what is our future destiny as a collective could be dissolving and reestablishing itself as that Mars and Saturn is having that beautiful conversation, but also that Uranus and Mercury as well. So this has all happened in the lead up to this full moon. So it's a really big full moon. But not only that, what also happened in the lead up to this full moon. So this is really good information to know and understand what's happening at the moment. We had Black Moon Lilith, who is here over in Libra. She's been here for quite some time. She will move into Scorpio in March. So that's a big deal as well. It's April, in one of those two timelines, March and April. Black Moon Lilith, she's the divine, she's the wild, fierce feminine. She sits in the bottom of the tree of life. We go down to Lilith, who holds all our pain. She holds all the things that we cannot face. She calls us to truth. She calls us to get to our essence. She calls us to call for balance and what is fair in the world, but right at a distilled point. And so not only did Mercury have a conversation with the sun, Black Moon Lilith is in this mix, having this trine aspect to Mercury and the sun, having this direct easy flow conversation to say, hey, listen, we need to bring more information, Mercury, to the collective, the greater wisdom of the cosmic world, Uranus, in terms of what is fair and what is true, and standing in that fierce feminine way of saying, no, this is out of balance here. We cannot go forward. Remember, back in Neptune and North Node, we cannot carry this drumming, patriarchal capitalism, out of balance timeline in with the future. This stops now. And this is an easy flow conversation that is happening with Black Moon, Lilith, Mercury, and the Sun happening. And this is the energy that's gone into the cauldron at this full moon. So you can now start to understand why when this full moon hits in its directive, that it feels like the earth is shaking and moving and things do not feel stable, because what it seems to me is that things are breaking away. And if I stay still enough, I can actually feel the earth moving and trembling. And I had a conversation with a beautiful woman in one of our local Creswick IGA, a bit of a shout out. And we sort of were talking about this in, in the magical portal that is Creswick IGA. And we're talking about that feeling the earth shifting and shaking. And what I visualize when I feel this is like this cracking of old timelines and old storylines away from the earth. It's like she's shedding these old outdated ideas and beliefs and storylines and moving into something that is more compassionate, and also thinking about Mars, about the station direct in Cancer, which is all about the mother, the great mother, and it comes back to nourishing and caring for the great mother herself. And what does that mean? We hold everyone in love and compassion, and we understand that everybody's got a fucking story. We all got a story, and we all have woundings, and yeah, we do stupid shit sometimes, but can we hold the whole thing? And it's a big thing to do, holding the whole picture in our frame to be able to make decisions from that place. The people who start wars, they were children. What the fuck happened to them to make it think, okay, that wars happened? And so coming back to that point of what happened to that? What happened to you? And holding that little person with compassionate love, which will shift the whole thing. And it's not dismissing the atrocities and it's really radical love. It's what Uranus is calling us, is radical love, not dismissing what has happened, but using that information, Chiron, using the wounded healer element to say, actually, this is bullshit. This is not okay. And how do we become the healer of that, as opposed to continually feeding, the war drums? So coming out of it. And what is interesting, after this full moon, we have tomorrow on Friday, it's today, tomorrow, Saturday, we have the sun will come into this into 25 degrees and have another conversation with Black Moon Lilith. It's already happening, but the sun will have this direct access now to Black Moon Lilith and say, how did we do? And reassessing and share, maybe bring some light to what the dark goddess Lilith has been saying. So this is going to be interesting, not just the lead up and in the turbulence of this full moon, but afterwards and what comes out of it. I think it's going to be really, really important. And then after that, we have the Mercury will move into Pisces, which will just sort of that communication element that feels so, a bit rigid and a bit cold in Aries, because it's ruled by Saturn, but also Uranus. So it's doing a good job at creating new future foundations, Saturn and Uranus. Mercury and following the sun will come into Pisces, and and it feels like what I'm feeling is like the aftermath of an event that was really big and loud, and there's a distilled moment of coming, and everything feels a bit strange and weird, but it feels like that settling of the mist, of like, that stillness that mist can bring, and not really seeing what the results are yet. especially with, Mars it's still in retrograde, and, Venus is about to go into retrograde in early March, and Mercury. So we're not really going to get to see the results of whatever's happening at this full moon, but we could get a sense of it. Pisces is really tapping into senses beyond sight. It's more that feeling, that watery body of mutable water. That water that moves from mist to rain to the stream to the lake to a river to the ocean and being evaporated again. Like it's not stilled, it's a mutable sign, so it's still moving. And we might not get to really see this until Mercury goes back into Aries after its retrograde. At the same time, we're going to have Neptune going into Aries as well. And then we're going to have Saturn go into Aries sort of April, after the eclipse period. So this feels like just shaking. It really feels like that eclipse energy starting to really stir things up, but we're not really going to see it, what the results are, for quite some time. But the biggest thing here too, also I just wanted to share that, talking about Chiron, the wounded healer, everybody has a wounding, everybody has a Chiron placement, everybody has an opportunity to heal by leaning into our wounded healer element, is it's making a square to Mars too. And that will happen once Mars stations direct and goes forward. So there's this element of, again, that square of 90 degrees action. So when Mars stations direct and starts moving and has a conversation with Saturn and has a conversation with Chiron and Aries, that's going to show us maybe where the healing is, because it's been held back at the moment. And there could potentially feel like we're in this wounded space, but to know that it will shift and it will move and things are not staying the same. As I said, nothing is staying stable. So to get through this, I highly recommend that to build an altar. Altars are living spaces where we can remember every time we pass through it that we're actually in a big process of transformation. It keeps us grounded. It keeps us focused. Have a ritual practice every day, whether it be lighting a candle and saying a prayer in the morning, or, just making some intentions the night before for the following day. Moving your body. These are, with all this fixed signs that are, they're not really fixed because Uranus is here making that T square. Things are moving. And so, what's above is below, is within is without. Move the body, especially as things start to move into Aries. This thing about moving things, moving body. And by doing that, we're also shifting the energy that's within us and above us and within us and outside of us. And connect. Find a like-minded community, go to workshops where you can find your community members in and support each other. This is a very Uranus thing, knowing that Pluto is now in Uranus, that whole keeping it local and supporting each other and supporting local farmers, knowing that Uranus is in fixed earth and that's not stable at the moment. So how can we support our growers who are doing good things in the world and leaning to the good things, finding people who are doing the good things and supporting them? Because the more that we can come together as the collective Aquarius, the safer it will feel. If you're out in the world on your own and you are feeling all this stuff, find a community and connect with them, because it'll feel so much harder on your own than coming together. And this is what the Pluto and Uranus, Pluto and Aquarius lessons, I think, will be, is coming together and journeying this together, as opposed to, being the lone wolf. The time of the lone wolf is done. Thank you. The Hopi prophecy shares that wisdom with us. The time of the lone wolf is done. It is time now to come together and celebrate who is there with you. That is it for this Leo full moon, may you shine your magnificent light. May you find the beauty in this time and lean in and trust the changes that are happening that are for our highest good. With so much love, thank you for listening. If you like this, please give it a thumbs up. That helps with the algorithms of YouTube. Share it among your people. And blessings, so much blessings. And if you are interested in doing the 4 Seasons journey, get in touch with the School of Shamanic Womencraft. If you are interested in joining the Temple of Nuit Patreon, go to the Patreon page or contact me directly for a booking, or any other information that you hear here today. With so much love from my heart to your heart. Blessings on your Leo full moon. Take care.